you think that this was an isolated incident, or do you think there's a national threat of a left-wing militia that is targeting ICE and CBP?
Well, I think you have some very stupid people in the left who have some money that are making it available to these people, because you look at the guns they had, they were brand new. You look at even the clothing they were wearing, it looked like it just came out of some military shop. So you have some very stupid people that if anything ever happened, they'd be the first to go. They don't understand that. They'd be the first to go. They'd be the first ones hit.
President Donald Trump speaking just moments ago about the rise of violent attacks against ICE and Border Patrol agents, vowing that his administration will find out who is potentially funding attacks that are putting ICE agents in harm's way. The president speaking as the aggression appears to be bubbling over, with several attacks on ICE officers over the 4th of July weekend. Look at this. Court records say 10 protesters wearing body armor and automatic rifles, I guess they're more than protesters, aren't they, firing dozens of rounds at a Texas ICE facility after launching fireworks, resulting with one officer suffering a gunshot wound. And an ICE officer in Portland, Oregon as well also attacked. 4 people there arrested for attacking officers, spraying graffiti, and throwing bricks. And this uptick in violence is slowing ICE down, too, they say, allowing some potentially dangerous criminals to be walking the streets instead of facing deportation. NewsNation's Allie Bradley joins us now live from Del Rio, Texas. Allie, how is ICE handling all this right now?
Yeah, hey, Anna. So federal law enforcement down on the ground, they are not giving up despite these potentially dangerous individuals who have been flagged for deportation, who are Iranian nationals, which is considered a special interest country. They're still walking around instead of being deported. And it's in part because these enforcement operations, they're targeted. They're going after a specific individual that could pose a national security risk. But these ops, they're being basically blocked. They're being compromised by these protesters who are basically saying that they stand for social justice. So we were on the ground with Border Patrol while they were trying to conduct some targeted enforcement operations. There were 5 different individuals that they were going after. We came up empty-handed on every single one. At one point, a protester actually falsely accused the team that we were with of kidnapping an individual as they were surrounding our vehicles, videotaping them, harassing these agents. Now, this allegation of this kidnapping was never reported to law enforcement. In fact, LAPD hasn't seen a spike in kidnappings reported. So those advocates, they know it's not a legitimate accusation. They're just harassing these law enforcement individuals. And they're under this immense pressure right now to meet this kind of threshold, this quota of 3,000 arrests a day. That pressure is in pushing them towards large-scale enforcement operations where collaterals, those are people who aren't necessarily the target, are being swept up. And it's in part because the safety of the officers and agents in these operations, it's being compromised by these protesters while they're sitting on these targets and ending up, as I said, empty-handed. Take a listen.
This does take a lot of time. A lot of effort goes into this, and it may be a couple of days, because one day you may see the target, the next day you may not. So it takes a little bit of time until you find them.
Takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. We had 5 different teams out there ultimately striking out. Now, the at-large operations, they're also producing criminal arrests. We were there as 2 out of the 3 individuals that they arrested who ran from a Home Depot. They did have extensive criminal history. Now, this all comes as Mayor Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, she says she's joining a class action lawsuit. She's pushing with everything she has to end these so-called raids across Los Angeles and its neighboring cities. But the reality here is she's saying she doesn't want to make any deal with ICE. She's saying she doesn't want to come to the table, Anna. She doesn't want to have talks. And with that being said, the chief that's running these operations on the ground, El Centro Sector Chief Gregory Bovino, I learned from sources today that he canceled the meeting that was slated with the mayor of Los Angeles because he doesn't see any progress being made there. Anna. All
right. And Allie, we saw these multiple attacks on federal buildings, the agents and officers working there over the last several days. What are federal law enforcement officers dealing with when it comes to assaults and attacks?
Yeah, we're seeing it almost on a daily basis at this point, some form of harassment and assault against these agents and officers. And what DHS is reporting right now is that they're seeing a nearly 700% increase in assaults against agents and officers when compared to this time last year. I want to show you some of these incidents that have happened. Just yesterday in Van Nuys, during federal immigration law enforcement operations, individuals actually tried to stop agents and officers from carrying out their arrests. Look at what they were using. The chief running operations on the ground says these suspects were using what they call improvised devices that were meant to disable their federal vehicles. All 4 of those individuals were arrested, and they're facing felony charges. And in another incident, we were actually down there for this one. Protesters threw rocks. They broke and shattered the windows of that vehicle. That agents were out conducting enforcement operations in the Flower District. Now, of course, these lawsuits, they end up jeopardizing any kind of enforcement. So we're not just talking about the Home Depot so-called raids. We're talking about these targeted enforcements as well. Anna, that could be something that we see kind of go away. Now, when it comes to prosecutions, both Secretary Noem and President Trump said they're going to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. President Trump just moments ago saying he wants them to spend a very long time in jail. Anna.
Yeah, he said he wants a really stiff penalty. All right, Allie Bradley.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.